Sorry, Heather, did you know Rebecca?
Yep, she's online. Welcome everyone. It's 6 o'clock. I'm calling this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. As we start today's meeting, I want to welcome you all. I'm glad you're here. As your chair, I'm going to work to create a meeting space where every board member is respected, safe, heard, valued, and seen. I'd also like to welcome members of the public for joining us tonight. Thank you all for being here. Our first item of business is the approval of the minutes. I hope everybody had an opportunity to look them over. Do we have any questions or changes? Seeing none, is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Rebecca?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item tonight is public comment. The Board of Trustees where are we at? Sorry. Okay, at this time, the board will allow 15 minutes for comment on public matters that are not on the main agenda. Members of the audience are encouraged to briefly address the trustees on issues that as they occur. Public matters do not include any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or any private student issues. Please do not attempt to address such issues at this time or you'll be ruled out of order. Please note that individuals will be given 3 minutes for public comment. Is there any public comment tonight?
I'd like to.
Okay. Come to the podium and state your name and your address.
My name is Tyler Hickey, in 247 Grizzly Gulch Trail, Kalispell, Montana.
Okay.
I want to address just some different things that happened with the head coach hiring position.
Oh, hold on one second. So right now, that will come up next, but under public comment, we're going to address anything, if anybody has any issues that are not on our agenda tonight. If you have anything you want to talk about that's not regarding the agenda, we can talk about that now. If not, we're going to move on to the first action item, and you'll have public comment at that point to talk about the head basketball coach.
Well, it was just the handling of the procedures of that. So it's not in direct of anybody specifically, it's just in how some of the procedures were violated in your guys' policy through the hiring committee.
Yeah. Personnel issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's there's a section for personnel.
Well, maybe it is best at the end. That's what you guys recommend.
Or Tyler, save it for this next spot that I'll call for public comment.
Okay.
That'll be a perfect spot.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else?
Hi, my name is Reynolds Cameron. I live in Kalispell. My kids go to Hedges. It's good to see new faces on the board. I just wanted to quickly say that to register my frustration with the early out Wednesdays. If there's any chance to revisit that at some point, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Reynolds. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak? Seeing none, we're going to move on. Our first item on the agenda next is going to be human resource and personnel, with personnel action items. About this part.
Yeah, before you tonight is a list of personnel action items that include hiring, resignations, terminations for various positions, including classified, certified, and coaching positions. there's quite a list of summer school teacher hires that are being as well.
I'd like to point out that we have the head basketball coach being brought forward again for a recommendation of hire. I want to remind everyone on the board what Scott and I were tasked to do with this process. We were to check into this matter and see that board policy and state law had been followed. I've spoken with most of you, and what our findings were is that we looked into the policy, and what the policy states was followed to the T. This is a routine procedure of a hiring committee was selected. The hiring committee brought candidates forward, and then it was, after that, the hiring committee brings it to the superintendent. The superintendent is, at that point, he can either accept or turn it back to the hiring committee. He also is privy to other information to look into the candidate. This is, again, this is one of those processes that happens all the time, and this is a routine. So the hiring committee was asked to reconvene and open the hiring process back up and start all over again, and that's what they did. And the candidate that's being moved forward right now was the selected candidate that was brought forward, and that is the candidate that is being recommended by the superintendent. Anybody have any questions or discuss this further? At this time, I'm going to open it up to public comment.
Do we need a first and a second first? Do we need a motion first?
So I've spoken with Micah about this, and I spoke with Jack about this, and we're gonna do this a little bit different. I'm gonna ask for public comment first, and then I'm gonna come back and we will discuss it again, and then I will ask for a motion. At this time, I'm gonna ask for public comment. As a reminder, public comments are an opportunity for us to hear your thoughts and your comments. This is not a question and answer session. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how we can respectfully disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire board and not to one individual board member, the superintendent, a staff member, or the audience. Any personal attacks, and you'll be ruled out of order. Individuals will be given 3 minutes. Is there anybody who would like to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Please state your name and your address.
Tyler Hickey in Kalispell, Montana. This is procedure, am I good to go for the three?
Mm-hmm.
Procedure 1100, the organization of philosophy. Kalispell's education primary concern is the student. This includes helping each student develop, understand, and accept the responsibilities and rights of a citizenship in a democratic society. Which a democratic society is respect for individuals and their rights to make their own choices, tolerance of differences and opposing ideas, valuing all people and supporting them to reach their full potential, which is why we use a hiring committee. It's a group of leaders and team members from different departments who come together to review job applications, to interview candidates. The goal is to ensure the right person is hired for the job based on everyone's point of view. I don't like the fact that people are basically shoving my son's head under a rug, and they're not respecting all the people in the hiring committee, whether they voted different or alike. They basically shoved their head under the rug and stepped on it on the way out. And I'm standing here because I'm not going to have no part of whatever took place after the left turn of the hiring committee. Policy 1513, management's rights. Employ, dismiss, promote, transfer, assign, and retain employees. Number 3, relieve employees from duties. Policy 1511, that says decisions on this board only fully after discussion of public board meetings, which I get the feeling it's already been done. Make all decisions based on available facts and my independent judgment, and refuse to surrender that judgment to individuals or special interest groups. I don't believe that you guys have got a chance to actually make those decisions personally. This one here, the board hire evaluates and seeks recommendations of a superintendent. Policy 1521. It doesn't mean have to, it means looks for it if it would be a good option. If it's not a good option, I think it should go back to hiring committee and use their judgment. All the people on the hiring committee are very respectable, have a very good opinion, and know what they're looking for in the task at hand for Flathead future. It is our responsibility to make voices heard and that we question these policies and decisions of government and hold the government accountable. And listening to different perspectives and views makes democracy stronger.
Tyler, you have 30 seconds.
I'm sticking up for the kids, I'm sticking up for everybody in the hiring committee, whether they disagree or agree, they all deserve the respect. Here's one. A form of government in which one person or small group possesses absolute power without effective constitutional limitations. That's the definition of a dictatorship. So.
Thank you, Tyler.
I'm probably going to break all the rules because I'm an incoherent freshman parent. My name is Jared Wink. I live at 668 Willow Glen Drive. My daughter just graduated from here 2 Fridays ago. Cecilia Wink. She graduated 11% in her class. She got accepted to Davison Honors College in Montana University. Her overall experience, I have to stand here and say this for her, because I love her with all my heart, was not appropriate in my view. I'm incoherent in the hiring policy. I'm incoherent in the athletic department, how they decide, how they make the decisions, if parents are involved, if players' opinions are involved, parents' opinions are involved. I'm worried, and I'm not, see, you said don't speak to one individual person. I'm a freshman dad with a little boy coming in here, and I'm scared. I'm scared about our future. When one of your best students, my daughter, just graduated here and went through the travesties and the trials and the punishment that she went through, and she still persevered, and she still put her head up and worked hard every day and never got any help from anyone. I'm proud of her, but I'm going to tell you all, I'm scared. I'm scared of our future when my family comes from Billings and looks at our banners and our championships haven't been won since 1970. I'm scared. It's my right as a parent. I don't want to transfer. I don't want to be a sellout. They pulled my son out, the head coach of the football team. He knows he's going to be the quarterback. My son that works his butt off. I don't know a child that works harder than my boy. I don't know a boy that does. And when I stand here and I watch this go down in such a professional manner, that you have parents that are so confused with the process, that don't understand it, and you hear hearsay from different sides. We're not close. It's all professionally done. It's all done in a manner of like a courtroom. We need to get back to what Montana was. I graduated here in 1994. That man graduated here in the 70s. We believed in Flathead. We believed it. But I think a lot of this was done without the opinion of the children, and now we have children that are leaving. Now my son, his chance is gone. He's not going to have the power because they transfer over. They transfer over because we're not behind them as a community and as a faculty. And I'm not trying to be a nuisance. I don't want to hinder my son, but I think we need to, as a group, come more together as a community, shut the laptops off, and we talk like Montanans have done for generations. That's where we stand. We need more numbers and names on those banners. I should not be embarrassed when my family comes up from Billings Senior and says, how is it that we haven't won a football championship in 53 years? My math isn't the best.
Thank you, Jared.
But I'm just saying, that's my opinion.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, board like to discuss this further?
I can't answer any questions to the public, but I do want to say, you know, whenever the public is here, I'm having public here. I'm a Flathead grad, I have kids here. I take this very seriously, and I was not at the meeting, so this came up first, but I have talked to the public, and I've talked to our board chair, and it's really hard to express without making it seem like we're being dismissive, that we do care, and that we have looked into it, and that there is only so many things that we would specifically look into. We didn't choose this candidate, it was a committee that chose the candidate we have. I know it was not the first choice, but it was a committee that chose it, and I do feel confident that policy was followed, that procedure was followed, and that as far as where our power lies as board members, not as sympathetic parents, not as graduates, but as board members, everything has been done the way that it has to be done. I don't know all of the information. Certain people know what needs to know. What I do know is that it's unfortunate that it has gone this way, and it's unfortunate that the community does not feel listened to, that students don't feel listened to. And what I really hope is that whoever it is that is hired will be supported by the community, will be supported by the students, will do an amazing job with these students, and that the students will, in the end, be able to come back to their parents and say, this is actually a good coach, we're going to be fine.
Any more discussion?
I just kind of want to go off of that too. I also was a graduate from Flathead. I've had 3 boys come through Flathead and play sports, and it's not always fair. It's not always awesome. Yeah, I too am kind of frustrated with our non-championship banners, but I also think that sports aren't the end-all be-all of high school. That might be a stance to take, but I'm gonna say it. There's just a lot of other things that happen in high school, and I am just not sure how this one coach position is going to have such an adverse effect trickle down onto these students. It's one coach.
Any further discussion? None. Is anybody comfortable making a motion?
I would move that we approve the personal action item.
Second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this?
Back in 2009, my son was kicked off the soccer team at Glacier High School, and I knew the coach. And my son got angry at me because I wouldn't support him. At the beginning of the season, I asked him, have you talked to the coach about what you need to do to improve? And he said no. And when the coach called and said, you're uninvited off the team, he was kicked off. But I was also a soccer referee at the time and an assigner, and I purposely assigned myself to the game that to that particular coach's boys' game. And we did not have any problem in that game at all. The coach, Ryan, I can't remember Ryan's last name right now. But Ryan, I had known Ryan since he was in junior high as a player. I coached him as a youth and as a high school player. He went on to be a collegiate soccer player, and I was very comfortable with him. And when I met him on that day, he saw me there, and yes, I'm sure he had questions going through his mind. Is there going to be retaliation? And there was none. And he and I, to this day, still have a good relationship. I don't referee soccer anymore. But 3 years later, I assigned my son to center Glacier Boys High School game when Ryan was still the coach there, because he had been refereeing since he was 12 years old. But he would have been 1T probably about the time, but when he was 14, 15, or 16, he went to regional tournaments in California, New Mexico, Washington, Idaho to referee. And I told him, I can't yank you out of that game when you're refereeing it, but it'll affect your future assignments. Ryan did not have a problem in the game. It was a very hot, competitive game. I don't remember who won, and it worked out fine. All I know is that as a parent, we get emotionally tied to things, and how do we separate facts from fiction or facts from personal emotions? And for me, yes, there's a committee that put together the proposal, and yes, there's a lot of influences that exist during that process. And but there's also an administrator, a CEO, whatever title you want to use, that has responsibility for everything, that has to take into account all the nuances that might exist in a recommendation. And yes, Mike is a short-termer. He's not going to be around, but he still has the integrity, I believe, to make the right decision, even though it's contrary to a preponderance of people. So for me, I'm very comfortable supporting this motion and going forward, because as a parent, yes, I could have been retaliatory, but at the same time, I have to understand the abilities of individuals. And yes, my son thought he should have gotten more playing time, but his skills weren't the same as what the others were, nor did he understand his full skill level there. So as a parent, are we really doing our job of being objective about what is going on? Thank you.
Anybody else?
First of all, I would like to thank Heather and Scott for looking into this. I know you guys did a lot of researching to get us all the information, so thank you. And I'm going to play a little bit of catch up because this is obviously new to me, but is it typical for coaches to get access with keys, gym, boys, parents, camps, and stuff like that before the board hires them, such as this coach has?
Yeah, it can be typical in some cases, just because the delay in board action sometimes necessitates the fact that we still have operations that need to continue. For example, summer school started on Monday, but you're now approving the hiring of the summer school teachers who have keys and access to students and all of those kind of things. So yeah, from time to time it does.
Okay. And then, did we miss a girls' basketball coach in our hiring? Because it was posted on Glacier's social media that we missed that a girls' basketball coach was hired. And I didn't see her name on the thing there.
This agenda has to post Friday before the board meeting, and so if the hire happened if it didn't get to us in time, then it wouldn't have been.
Oh, she posted it a couple weeks ago, so I was just wondering if we missed one or not. I'm wondering if we could maybe change that so it would stop some of the confusion with the parents and kids and stuff like that. Maybe have a 30-minute meeting where we can approve coaches before they get access to the kids, so then we don't have this type of confusion with the parents and the coaches and stuff like that. I don't mind having a 30-minute meeting. It's our due diligence as board members to kind of approve that, so then we can say as a board, we got all the information, we approved them, now they have access to our school, our kids. I mean, the paper had it printed that he had the job a month ago. It was all over in Missoula. You know, I'm wondering if we could maybe move forward in that process to have that taken care of ahead of time. I think it's a real bad look on us that it's everywhere, and a month and a half later, we're just approving it. So I'm wondering if we could somehow move forward in that process.
I think that would be a good thing to talk about at personnel.
Okay.
And we'll bring that.
Okay, then that's all, thank you.
Anybody else?
You know, being new to this and having a legal background, for me, it's important to understand the policies and what they implemented. And it's important that there is certain, you know, like, based on my review of the policy, we as a board, we're appreciate, Chair Heather. It's important that we have our policies for a reason, and we should not be getting from them the look that Heather and Scott left us on behalf of the assurance of the policy, knowing that there's checks for us, so.
Anybody else?
I would like to add, though, to Heather's comment, I do agree that, you know, I hate for the kids to be in the lurch on this due to the 2 weeks between our board meetings. And I know we have to provide proper notice for all of our meetings, but to the extent we need to act quicker with the end of school and kids going off on summers and needing workout schedules and what, I mean, I hope this could be an opportunity for us to look at if something like this were to happen in the future, a special meeting in short order, with the appropriate notice requirements, the sole agenda item. Being in a lurch.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Second?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is the change of dedicated signatures. Denise? You or Micah? Denise?
I'll let you, Denise.
So with the changing of the position, the superintendent serves as the authorized rep for our grant, and signs on various other documents. So approval to
Is there any discussion? None? Anybody comfortable making a motion?
I move to update signature designation, accept the change of superintendent.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Do discussion now. Any discussion? How about public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is hard to fill positions.
I'm gonna take this one.
Okay.
Yep. So we talked at personnel and we talked at finance about, challenges that we have in filling, certain positions within our district. Labor markets are tight, teacher education preparation programs are not, turning out as many teachers as you'd like to see, and some in some very difficult, areas. And so, we have talked and kind of kicked around the idea of, what can we do to attract, recruit, and retain, employees in our district? And this, obviously, it could affect just about every employee, but there are certain positions that are really hard to fill. And they will go open for months. And we we decided we were gonna take a look, and you can go to the next slide, Matt. I'd take a look at the definition that OPI uses when referring to hard-to-fill positions. And when it meets OPI's definition, it allows a district to have emergency authorization to place someone in a classroom to be a teacher. And so we've had situations where we've had to hire a family consumer science teacher who actually only had an English degree because we needed to fill the position. They were qualified as far as being a teacher, but not necessarily certified in the correct area. And so we look at kind of that definition, and then we went in and looked at just the little couple years history on some of our hard to fill positions over the summer. And what you'll see in there is, well, 2 family consumer science teachers, a couple foreign language teachers, instructional coach, but another big one for us is special education. And that will come into play a little bit later, where special education students are our highest need, and we have the highest obligation to serve them with certified personnel in those positions. And so we did a little research. We reached out to other AA districts to hear if any of them have considered things like a hiring bonus or some sort of incentive. Most do not, and part of the reason is, and we had conversations with the Kalispell Education Association, the union, it can become problematic for unions to specifically support one position over another. I think most would agree that finding a really good English teacher is hard as well.
I was nodding at the same.
Nobody would say that. Nobody ever said that. But as we look at these positions, we just recognize that there's a challenge. And so unions typically aren't super supportive of it. A lot of districts have kicked around the idea. One has had some a hiring bonus for hard to fill positions. Some have offered hazard pay in some of those programs where students can be violent or uncontrolled and create hazardous situations for employees. But for a large part of it, they've said that they really haven't had a lot of success in doing that. And I think when it's a really tight labor market, even if you have hiring bonuses, it could be challenging. So kind of concluding in all of this is we decided to bring forward to the board a recommendation to pilot for 1 year, offering a hiring bonus for hard to fill positions. That means those positions in our district that have remained unfilled and meet that definition under OPI standards, and looked at an amount of $3,000. And the reason for that amount is because that is about the difference between step 0 and step 2 on a salary schedule. And that is something that we do to recruit and attract employees to our district, is we place everybody who comes into the district at least on step 2, and then they can carry years of experience with that, so they can be placed up to step 9. That's kind of the rationale for why that number. We've looked at, potential funding sources. This can be a challenge. I sent an email to our administrators saying, please don't take this wrong. We know we just cut positions and other things that really were an impact to the general fund. So this request would be to ask the board to either use interlocal agreement dollars or ESSER funding to support. And the dollar amount, we put somewhere between $18,000 and $24,000 based off of current hard to fill positions that are open, and maybe some unanticipated ones that come at us this summer. That's the recommendations, and would stand for questions. First one.
So I have a couple questions. We have it here, the bonus. If people came in that were already qualified, already had enough experience, that they started in a higher step, they will just start where they start, right? This could only be for people that would be starting out at the first step.
No, so this could be a bonus for someone who maybe comes in at step 7.
Okay.
But they're coming into a hard to fill position.
Okay. And a couple things that we've talked about. Okay, so first of all, I guess with this, how does the union feel about this? Has it been discussed with the union?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't be bringing it forward if it hadn't been discussed, and they're supportive of trying a pilot. They recognize that need. One of the kind of caveat to all of this is we have some special ed positions that are open, we have no applicants, but we have to serve those students. And one of the things that becomes a reality is that you have to take people who are currently in a position, who have a special education endorsement, and involuntarily transfer them into a position that they do not desire to be in. That is not good for morale, recruitment, and retention of employees. If everybody thinks, oh, well, they're just gonna, you know, this is the job I want, this is the one I applied for, but they're just gonna move me around, whenever the need suits them, that's not good for us either, but that could be a reality in this, if we can.
And my last question is, one of the things that we started this year was, and I know it's led, but the childcare options, is that a thing that will continue? Like, I just haven't heard about it in a while. Will it continue? Is it growing? And use that in the future? You know, this is a one-year bonus. Can we use it in the future to maybe make the position attractive? Is that something that seems like it will continue, or do you have any?
Well, I'd probably defer to Matt, but yeah, we have no plans to discontinue having childcare available in our building sites. That was just part of our efforts to address the overall need in the community as a whole. So we have toddlers, infants, students. They're not students who are receiving childcare in our district who are not just employee kids. They are also kids from outside of the.
So when we have new employees, there is room for their children to maybe be in this?
We have two spaces down, one at Peterson and one at Edmonton, and those programs are full. And so, we'll have a waiting list on the next year, and I would suggest that we'll probably have a growing waiting list in the years to come. Hopefully, we can identify spaces, maybe at Flathead High, be a great spot. You know, our other high school, Glacier High, can have these large staffing situations.
Right.
It's meant to establish a daycare spot. Again, remember that all the districts doing is donating a space, and then the parents are coming up with the agreement, hiring the provider, and paying for it. It already has been a really good incentive with recruiting and retaining, working well.
Great.
Something that we're looking at, umbrella approving for each year, this amount, or is this just for certain positions we have open at the moment?
Yeah, we just wanted to do it for this year for positions that we currently have open. We maybe anticipate a few more coming open, maybe not. So that's why we put a range of $18,000 to $24,000, $3,000 a piece. That's 6 to 12 positions.
And then,
So this would be a memorandum of understanding with the union that we're going to try it for 1 year, and they have an expiration date. And so then if it's something that looks like, oh, this could potentially work, I think the union would want to see it moved into contract language and not just be a kind of a at-will type thing.
then this is just an aside question, somewhat relating. School nurses, you know, it said that we hadn't had hires of nurses. It's been open since 2020. Is there anything that says that we have to use a nurse, we can't use a paramedic or an EMT? I mean, basically, yeah, and I don't know if there's a policy or a law that says it has to be a nurse. Are you familiar with anything like that?
No. In fact, school districts aren't required to have nursing services at all. The way that the laws are constructed and board policy is constructed, we don't have to have them. What we do have, though, is a collective bargaining agreement with the KEA, and nurses are included in that collective bargaining agreement. And so they have requirements for licensure that they have to meet. And so we could consider those types of services similar to what we do. We'll see it later as an agenda item where we have contracted services with other providers for like speech pathology or occupational therapy or things like that, where we could potentially look at something like that. Yeah, it'd be on like a temp pay basis or something like that, but those kind of agreements can be reached too.
Basically, you know, with the amount that nurses are getting paid by Logan Health and other entities in the valley, that it would make a lot of sense to try to look toward EMTs or paramedics who want to further their experience.
Yeah.
Something like that, even on a on a double part-time basis, where you have a part-time one in the morning, part-time one in the afternoon, where they can still do their job as a firefighter or work for the hospital.
Yeah, probably the biggest, component in this, and where our nurses, serve our students the most, is in our life skills and profoundly, disabled students who need tube fed and catheterized and those kind of things. And those do require specific, set of skills and nursing services. And without those, we open up ourselves to a liability that I don't think we want to.
Anybody comfortable making a motion?
I had some questions, Heather, if it's okay.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
So I guess the biggest part of the question is, are we convinced that these bonuses are what will help? I understand we have unfilled positions. Is the problem that we don't have the talent in the Valley? Is the problem that the price is too low, so they want something to be on a higher grade going? Do we have any conviction that a hiring bonus will have an effect?
I would say we have some, just based off of anecdotal information from other districts, we feel like we at least have to try something, for us to just sit back and say, well, our hands are tied, throw our hands in the air, we can't do anything. We at least think that this is one way or one opportunity to try and look at. And if it's not successful, then we need to go back to the drawing board and look at other ways that we might be able to incentivize it.
But you think this is the best incentive for this moment in time?
I think so, and one that we can work with the union on, and come to an agreement, and, it doesn't have a huge fiscal impact right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Make another motion. What is the motion that needs to be made for?
We vote. I can't read it.
Move to approve signing bonuses for hard-to-fill positions as presented.
Perfect. I move that we approve the signing bonuses for the hard-to-fill positions as.
I'll second.
Lance, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is there any public comment?
My thought is, if it turns out that $3,000 makes a difference, when we touch back to this, if it has been successful, rather than having it be a bonus, perhaps it just needs to be reevaluated. I know we did that with a lot of our positions. We reevaluated how much you actually have to have them filled. These are just positions that make slightly different.
Anybody else? Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Rebecca,
I
any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next up is special services, interlocal agreements, MOUs, contracts.
I'll take this one.
Okay.
So in front of the board, we're asking you to approve all the contracts that are in here as presented. We reviewed these with, finance and, did we do personnel this year? I don't know if we did. Pretty routine contracts that we have, for a variety of services, most that, support our special services students. And, you can see that budget sources for those, usually, Medicaid or tuition are the primary ones. There is one where we do tap into, general fund also. We could open up each one of them if you'd like and go through them.
I just have a quick question. So you just said these are mostly for, special needs students, not just like blanket,
Yeah.
whoever, okay.
Heather, I'd move to approve all contracts as presented.
Thank you, Matt. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? None. Any public comment? None. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is Adult Education Coordinator and Instructor. You or Pete?
This is something we've really been working on all year as far as adult education, coordinator and instructor. So we've looked at the Great Falls model, how they've, worked with, in partnership with their local college. And, one of the biggest needs that we have is we have 106 dropouts. That was from last year. And so working with Micah and then working with Jody Barber at the LEC is how do we serve these students? And obviously, adult education, is how we serve students who have dropped out and who are not enrolled in school. And so we can serve them through our adult education funds and then using those funds exactly what they're intended to be used for. But we also wanted to look at doing something a little bit different. So you'll see we're working in partnership with Flathead Valley Community College because, as you know, as students drop out, what carrot do we have to bring these students back in to our schools, who are at least 16 years of age and aren't enrolled? It's like, hey, I've been there and done that. So a part of this proposal is that we attach a career pathway to it, so that we're allowing students to be able to kind of propel them into a job. So I'll give you a couple examples. So we'd be housing this at Flathead Valley Community College. It would remove them, from the environment that they were in. It allowed them to be on a campus. They would go through the adult education, working on their HISET, and the HISET is different than the HISET options that we have at Linderman Education Center. But we also want to have this person, that's why it's listed as an instructor coordinator, also want to have them work with our work-based learning coordinator to identify a career path. So a student could say, hey, I would be taking the HISET to basically get my GED, and then I would also earn a micro-credential. Maybe that might be an electrical, might be a heavy equipment or something like that. And we work with Mike Kelly, the work-based learning coordinator, to set up a paid internship for the students. So not only are they able to earn their HISET, they're also able to get either an industry-recognized credential or a micro-credential at the college, and then be able to either move right into a paid internship, apprenticeship, or into a job. So that is the goal of the adult education and using the adult education funds for what they were intended.
I know the Flathead Valley Community College used to have an adult basic education program that taught towards the HISET. Does this conflict with that?
No, that's why we're partnering with Flathead Valley Community College, because they do have the adult education. And so, they have two people, one that oversees the testing of it, who can't be an instructor, and then they also have an instructor. So we would be partnering with them, so they would serve the same population that they serve, but our person who's working up there would focus strictly on KPS students. So that way we're not duplicating services, and we're trying to do more partnerships, with the college and with the community.
Would you say KPS students or those kids that are 16, 17, 18? That might come from throughout the valley.
Yep, and it also could include 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds. The other caveat of this is, if we find some students who dropped out, they take some of the HISET classes, and then we find out that they're close to graduating, that we can apply those HISET classes as credit, and then we can re-enroll them back in our school, and hopefully they would be able to graduate before they turn 19. So that's another option for us. We're just trying to open up as many options as possible.
I guess I will lance this question kind of with mine, and I have more questions now, but, so, is it correct to say that we are expanding on FECC's program?
I wouldn't say expanding, we are expanding, but I'd say we're partnering with them.
And, for the funding of it, will they register not through FECC or through us?
They would sign up through the HISET, basically through us, but they would be housed at FECC, so going through the same high set as maybe anybody else that Flathead Valley Community College is working with.
And could any student do that, or like any person do that, or is there an age restriction, or do they have to be in a district?
So in order to do the high set, you have to be, at least 16 years old and not enrolled, in high school.
But you, I mean,
You could be from Libby.
and do our program, or they have to do the other one?
So most likely, you know, those are some of the things that we've talked about with, Flathead Valley Community College. I mean, our instructor and our coordinator, will fall under, you know, the supervision of myself and Jody Barber at the LEC, because we want them to focus on our students first. That's our priority. But, you know, if that instructor is doing a cohort of students and there's a Libby student in there, then, you know, we're okay with that. But our primary focus is gonna be on, Kalispell Public School students that have dropped out.
I love this, you know, just as a comment, I mean, I'm always looking for ways that we can help students, everybody goes on their own path, follows the same path, but, I hope that the way that it is all written, and we'll see what happens the first year, but I hope that all the students at FECC doing the program could be helped by this, regardless of like what area, so if we can with funding wise.
Well, it's a partnership with the college, you know, they reach out to, you know, obviously Libby, Eureka, Columbia Falls, so there's a lot of options. And that would be, you know, part of their focus. There would be students that cross over too. We might have students from, that dropped out of Kalispell and just gone straight to the college, and they'll be serving them too. So we're really, I mean, it kind of goes back to, you know, we're looking like for the Center of Career Discovery. How do we start partnering and, you know, using our resources within our community better and looking for ways, instead of doing everything in silos? Because we could do adult education. You know, we actually talked about doing our own adult education. We could do it through Linderman, but have it housed, you know, at one of our sites. But once again, we're duplicating services.
Right.
And, you know, they have a great program. Let's partner with them. You know, let's work together as a community.
This, that we have adult education funds, do those funds fully cover this position?
Yes.
And then what else do those funds go toward, just this?
Adult education funds can be spent on a variety of purposes, including personnel, but as an example, if someone said, hey, I want to teach a defensive driving course, you could buy a car with adult ed funds to teach the defensive driving course. So it can be used for paying for programs, like we'll invite people in to teach our adult community how to pack horses to take in Bob Marshall Wilderness, or ceramics, or word processing, or just any variety of skills. But it can be used for pretty much anything. But when it comes to student side of this, the caveat is dropped out, not enrolled, and over the age of 16. Those are the two big caveats for us, the proper way to spend those funds.
So would you say there's potential for some of the kids who are in school now who see this program come up and they say, well, I don't really want to do school anymore, I'm gonna drop out and go do this instead? Is there a...
We would not advertise it that way.
Well, I mean, but it's
I probably would have done it.
Look at it that way.
Yeah, I think, you know, part of our challenge is that, you know, we do so many things within our schools to try and capture students and keep them engaged and on track to graduate. And then you have a program like Linderman that has a 1.5-year long waiting list. And, you know, we're limited in how much we can offer there and the types of offerings that we can have. And so students get to a place where they're just like, this large environment is just not for me, and I don't see any other option but to drop out. And we just see this as a different option. Like, yeah, you can drop out, but we still care, and we still want to see you be successful, get a general equivalency diploma, get a career micro-credential, be employable within our community, and serve our community as well.
The only other thing I have, thank you, the only other thing I have to say is, you know, I know that you told me adult education funds cover the FT. The only thing that I wish there was a better way is the perception of we just let go of all these librarians. We're gonna hire somebody who is outside of the scope of K through 12 mainline student, and I just don't, it just feels funny.
Just in the years that I've been on the board, the adult education funds are things that are, there's always this thing of like, well, we could use adult education funds. We try not to, like, ever waste funds just to do it. And hopefully people will see these funds are totally different, and also there's been discussion in years past of what better ways could we, like, what could we do with these adult education funds? Are there programs we're not doing? It is something that was kind of passed to the administrators to look at. Are there things that we could do to better serve this specific population that is totally different from the population that's served by the general fund?
And I would like to say thank you, is it Pete, did you put most of this together? That, for doing this, because I do like the fact that we're reaching out to those students who either fall through the cracks or need that extra hand, so thank you.
Thanks, but, kudos actually go to Mike, because he tasked this to me, said to me, we need to be using our adult education funds for what they were intended. You need to figure this out. Obviously, I've spent a lot of time in it, so.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Not only, with adult education, but Mike also talked about, offering adult education classes, and, Flathead Valley Community College has a very robust continuing education department. They do everything, and so that's another partnership that we're looking at. So we used to run, adult ed through Flathead High School and offer classes and hire people, and so now we're looking at also partnering with FVCC. They can do all the registration. Now we can tap into, our teachers, our staff, our facilities, and really use that for what that's intended for again, and doing it community-wide instead of having Flathead or, KPS do it in a silo or FVCC do it. So, just trying to come together, pool our resources and make it better for our community.
Anybody else?
Question?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Are these students considered KPS students? If they enroll for this high set through the college and they start working with our adult ed coordinator who's working in part, these kids considered KPS students?
So once they complete the high set, the FVCC would have the completers. So they would be considered a completer, through FVCC. But basically what they've done is they've dropped, from, KPS, and so they're no longer our students.
Okay.
But adult ed is designed to, help dropouts to get the high set.
Okay.
So we do have the high set options at Linderman Education Center, and those students are
KPS. Yeah. So as far as our oversight over these students and our abilities for them while they are pursuing their high set at FB, we're basically just working in part.
Yeah, we would still have oversight over the students too. So, like in any education program. To be able to track their progress and to be able to move them through, be able to set up the, the internships, and to be able to set up, whether it's concurrent enrollment, running start, or micro-credentials, that would all be done through the college.
I'm just thinking logistically from a to FBC. I think it helps us how and we're providing additional services and oversight.
Yeah, we would have to come up with an MOU that outlines this once we move forward. So, 'cause I know there's always somebody like you looking out from that side too. So, well, no, we always look at that. That's one of the first things, like
This is just step
partnering with, the continuing ed. We have to put together an MOU, and, part of that is liability and all of those things that go.
You got my concern.
Yeah.
And you said, so let's say a child drops out, their sophomore year, it's tough, right? They had a really bad freshman year, they drop out sophomore year, and they go to this program, they take some high tech classes. By their senior year, if they're pretty well on track, could they come back then to FHS or GHS and graduate with their class?
they would have had to earn some credits along the way that count. Some of the high-tech classes, we can give them credit for that, but if they were to get concurrent enrollment classes that would count, or running start classes, then we could count those classes, and then we would bring them back, and then we could also count them, enroll them, and then we could count them as A and B. And that would be our goal, is if kids close, we're gonna work with them and get them back into school so that they can graduate and they can earn that diploma.
Anybody willing to make a motion?
I had my hand raised, sorry, still have questions.
Sorry, Rebecca.
Go ahead.
My first concern is somewhat about the name. When I hear adult education, I assume we're offering, an opportunity for parents or community members to come in and weld or something. So I do wonder if we should look at the name so it's not confusing to people. But more importantly, when we start to talk about kids or ex-students, I guess, doing internships towards their high step, I wonder if we're broadening our central core mission too far. That, are we just giving somebody a degree for, I don't know, doing plumbing or whatever it is. So I'd love to hear more about how you feel on, the interaction between work-based learning and making sure we're doing our core education, whatever that may look like.
So Rebecca, is Ursula. I will just say, to kind of my opinion on that question is based in that when I was in high school, I had a lot of friends that dropped out. And between situations that they were in and choices that they were making, there was nothing that was going to get them graduated. I have friends that went to, it was laser, it was the equivalent of Linderman. I had some friends that were able to pull that off. I have some friends that graduated early, like I did, in order to get out of a system that wasn't working for us sooner. But I had a pretty decent handful of friends that dropped out. And when I think about the expanding of the umbrella with this, I don't think it expands too far. I think that it expands just far enough to try to grab these people that need it the most.
And I would just add to that is, we already have a work-based learning coordinator in place, and Mike Kelly, so he would be working, with them. We already have concurrent enrollment running start that's in place. That's through the college, so that's already set up. College already has an adult education program, so, that's set up. We're just providing additional staff to be able to work with, our students. And I believe those students, those 106 students that dropped out, is we have an obligation to try to, get them back into, school or get them on a path so that they're a productive member of our society. And as you guys know, I just have a passion for at-risk youth, so I'm going to try to do anything I can to help them out and get them back on track. So, because, we either invest in them now or pay for it later.
No, and that's absolutely a worthy goal that the question actually came from it's interesting that Ursula commented, because the question came from a comment at the curriculum committee that I don't remember if it was Ursula or a member of the public who brought up are we just trying to get kids in a degree as quickly as possible from high school so that they can become part of the workforce? And I was just trying to be sensitive to that community concern.
I think that was me, Rebecca, and it is, I do. It's like, yes to that and yes to this. I don't want us to just get our kids into the workforce. I want them to get the education, but I do think some kids are just not going to make it.
Awesome, thank you.
A motion on the floor made by Lloyd. Do I have a second? Been moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Have any public comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, Rebecca, how do you vote? Thank you. Any opposed? Nope. Thank you. Motion carries. Next up is the IB curriculum review presentation. Pete? Yep.
I guess I'll go through, I'll just have Matt go through a few things, but I just wanna I'm skipping down to, slide 6, because you guys have this presentation before you, and it's pretty much outlined in board policy. It's been through, the curriculum committee, it's been through finance committee, we had a 3-week, public display. So if you take a look, back, so we followed a 5-step process, and part of that, 5-step process is to review, analyze, update, develop, and design. I'd like to say I came up with that, but I'm just, following Kelly's lead. So, as you guys know, Kelly's very thorough, setting things up as far as organizing. And she left me a lot of great stuff, and she said, just follow that and try not to screw it up. So that's exactly what I've done. So we started this process back in December with that 5-step review, then met with all the departments. We also had IB present to the curriculum committee back in January. Then they worked on, the new syllabi and the materials, and those are all embedded, in the presentations, and that's all on the curriculum, committee side. Then we presented the pacing guides and, the materials to the curriculum committee back in May, and so those were approved. And then we spent the last 3 weeks, hosting a public display at the district office, and that went out on the website. And then, I did bring it up to the board of finance, but, didn't do an entire presentation. And so now I'm bringing it, forward to you today, to approve, the IB biology, the IB physics, and then the IB math. So as you know, that you guys approved the new course proposal for higher level math, back in December. And so that includes year 1 and year 2. And so when you look at the recommendations, so why is math a little bit higher? Remember, we're buying 2 years worth of math books because it's a 2-year, program. Be happy to entertain any questions before we go to the
Yeah, I have a question.
recommendation.
Did we have, any members of the public coming to view any of the materials this year?
No.
I just want to let all of you know that I did review all of the material, and I was shockingly surprised. I was very impressed. I did not know what I was going to find in some of those books. I mean, this day and age, you don't know what a biology book is going to entail, and I was very impressed, and I was pretty excited about this book. Well, all of the books. The math one didn't really capture my interest, but I did look through all of them. So I just want to let you guys know that I did take the time to look through it, and I back all of these materials, Pete, and I think they're great. I'd like to move them forward.
Well, Heather, just one question. How many people looked at them last year?
Me.
And how many days was that?
How many days did I look at it, or was it
last
available
year.
for the public?
Spent 3 days looking through them last year, and you also spent that much time looking through them again, so just want to
But
thank you.
this year, Pete gave me a heads up and let me take the books home, so that helped.
And I can
Anybody
speak
else
to the
have any
math book.
questions?
I did look it over fairly closely and was very impressed. It's a very exciting book. That we're moving forward with this new class overall is very exciting and a big step up for our school. And that particular book is really, very nice.
She's better looking at the math than I am. Okay, so that was information only. We're moving on to IB curriculum and materials recommendation. And would anybody like to make a motion? Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Do you guys have any discussion? How about public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next up is our consent agenda, or district-wide.
Yep. Routine business in front of the board, asking for approval of these items on the consent agenda.
I'd move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Oops, sorry, Rebecca. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to trustee reports. Rebecca, how about we start with you? Do you have a report? Rebecca, did we lose you? I have a report. I got to attend the MTSBA, symposium, is that what it's called? Thursday and Friday. Just a wealth of information. I was very impressed. I really, really recommend if you guys registered and you got the link, take some time to look through it. I recommend next year, whoever is available, to come and attend, because it was worth the trip, and we had a great time. Sue and Lloyd and myself all got to go. Matt, I really appreciate that email today that you forwarded from Chow. I don't know if any of you got a chance to look at that yet, but take a look at it, scan through the pictures of everything these kids got to do this year. It's just, I'm really happy with the work that she's been doing. That's all I have. Jack?
I do have a report, actually. I just couldn't hit unmute. Is it okay to do it now?
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Just again, kudos to some of the programs that Michelle Payne and Pete Fusaro have put in. It so happens that my child was asked to tutor in the credit recovery program for the 2 weeks after school. It started yesterday. There have already been 3 of the 15 students who got tutored yesterday, took their test today, and are moving on. And it's really fun to see the students helping students and this credit recovery working so well.
Thank you, Rebecca, for sharing.
I just want to say that it was great to be at graduation again. I really love that, what a celebration of accomplishment.
Riveting policy, committee. It was thanks for the administration and Michelle and all the school leaders to get us the handbooks, prior to them being printed. It's good to look through, and I appreciate pulling out the changes so that it was easy to identify. Thank you.
I went to the KMS 8th grade graduation, and KMS does not disappoint. The entire outside was filled. They had a DJ, they had mini donuts, they had the inside filled with inflatables, they had parents there volunteering and grilling, sprinklers, the principal was in the dunk tank, like it was wild. So that was really, really fun. I went to West Valley's 8th grade graduation. That was awesome. I know it's not in our district, but I had an 8th grader graduating, so it was really cool. My senior sang the national anthem at Glaciers High School, so I have to give kudos to him for that. And then I made my first finance meeting, so that was fun too, so it's awesome. And it's been awesome being on the board, so thanks everybody. Hope we can all go for coffee individually together and hang out and get to meet individually together, and meet everybody. And, you know, we may have differences in opinion, but that's okay. That's what this board's all supposed to be about. And as long as we have the kids at heart, that's all that matters. So, thank you.
I had my first victory graduate, and it's got me feeling a little bit sentimental. And, you know, I'm obviously so proud of who he is, but thinking on that process, I know that I am not a perfect parent, and I know that his teachers are not perfect teachers. I know that our community is not a perfect community. We are all ourselves. What I do know is that we are doing our best, and that somehow this coming together of community and teachers and parents, loving these kids and doing our flawed best is turning out some really, really amazing humans. To know so many kids from this graduating class and see them on the precipice of adulthood, full of potential, full of opportunities, full of enthusiasm, It just really, really makes me grateful for the work that every single person has done. I think about Bob, the janitor at Peterson, that always made my kids feel so seen and special, music teachers, the principals, our neighbors. I'm just very grateful for the work that every single person that has given that little bit of love to him, for them to put in that energy and to have him turn out the way that he was. So thank you to all of you. Micah, I'm very happy that he was able to have you as a superintendent. I just think that we're doing a good job, and I'm very proud.
I got to go, as I said, to the MTSBA annual meeting and, symposium, and really changed how I see the MTSBA. It was a great opportunity to, listen to what they're doing within the legislature, and then also, we had a full day of classes on collective bargaining, and it was really informative and really good. And then, thank you to all who went to the graduation. I'm sorry I missed it. That is my favorite thing of the whole year. And I moved my, my great aunt, or my wife's aunt, drive a U-Haul from Spokane to Charleston, South Carolina in 4 days, so that was with no cruise control and an AM/FM radio. But anyway, yeah, the symposium was pretty awesome, and I think it's this year too.
I'd just like to say how neat it was to have one of the first things that we did as new trustees was to be able to participate. It was so amazing to see the different ceremonies and how the students were celebrated, and to see all the teachers there who just genuinely care for them. It was especially special to see fellow board members who had, that was a pretty impactful thing as a fellow board member to see a peer watch their child graduate. And I'm incredibly proud for you all and for your children. Amazing kids who are, I also want to say that I want to give a special thank you to Micah. I mean, he's been our superintendent, and granted, this is now is this my official first board meeting, or, I mean, second board meeting, anyway, but I'm speaking more as a parent as opposed to a trustee when I say this, but we greatly appreciate your leadership in this community and for the school and your steady presence. You'll be dearly missed. Anyway, I'm already working on your kids. So. And then finally with that, I do want to reference the really cool out of classroom learning opportunities. The first time I was a chaperone at the Crescent, and that was pretty fun. In addition to applying bug spray to kids, because the mosquitoes are pretty vicious out there. We had a great time, and it's so fun to see all these kids that your kids have been with them and help them on the monkey bars and everything out in the play area. Anyway, so thank you, and really cool.
Sorry, me again. I just wanted to say too that I went to the little block party, the Heart Locker block party last Friday, and Pete get dunked, which was really fun.
You dunked it, didn't you?
Miss Mary works at my son's school, and I was like, I bet you get to dunk one of your teachers. And he's like, oh, and he saw Miss Mary, and he was like, I would never dunk her. And I was like, you can dunk her husband. So he got up there. But it was really great to see that, and you could tell that there was a lot of kids there that utilized the Heart Locker and had formed relationships with like Casey and Mandy and the people that worked there. And it was really great to see their interaction. They're just like how free they felt to talk with Casey and Mandy, that they had really built a trust there. And that was really great to see firsthand, because you don't always get to see that. You hear about it,
administrator report. Pete, you want to start, or Denise?
Yeah, no, I can start.
Okay.
So, I just like, thank all the administration, graduations. I haven't been to the graduations in 5 years, and just very impressed, all unique in their own way, and I just know how much work it takes, to put those on. You basically start in November and, work through and a culmination, so, I mean, they were all great. The LEC, we got to be outside, really enjoyed that, so we all shaded up, and, it was fun sitting on the stage, but then also, a shout out to Rebecca's son Dyson. So he recruited the FHS band to play, for the, LEC graduation, and I thought that was just, really special, so just a shout out to him. The last thing, so I'd just like to publicly thank Micah just for his service, his leadership, his resilience, and most importantly, the fortitude to make difficult decisions. It's not easy, but he has always put students at the forefront in every decision, and I admire him for that, and I thank him. So it's going to be missed. I wish you well, Micah. So good luck.
That's really nice, you almost sound like a song.
Oh, I got one.
Echo a lot of those things, like graduation was fun, the end of the year celebration was fun. It was great to see our teachers and, administrators just working hard, finishing the year really well with a lot of excitement. All of the things we're taking on with personalized competency-based education is above and beyond the normal jobs that all of these people have. Just recognizing that and how tired people are at the end of the year from doing the regular plus taking on an extra lift is, just humbling to be a part of. And then we already got to work planning for next year. And I was talking with the principal who said, finishing a year, working that hard, and then scheduling a meeting to plan for next year is kind of like coming back from camping on Sunday. And it's like hot out, you gotta unpack all the stuff, and it's like the last thing you wanna be doing, but you need to do it because it'll make your life easier later. So that's kind of where we are right now, it's ending. Everybody's just really tired, but also excited to be doing the work next year. And you guys all gave Micah a well-deserved shout out, and I will too, in his last board meeting. He's been incredible to work with. We're gonna miss seeing the red Toyota parked at the district office on Saturdays and Sundays, doing all the extra work that he has done over the years. He's led by example, he has an incredible work ethic, very knowledgeable, and, really respectful of his work right up to the end of his time here. So, a lot of people cashed in, and there's some tough decisions that need to be made, and they don't want to upset community members or administrators or whomever. They just kind of sweep things under the rug, and not Micah. He's been integrity right to the end, doing the right thing regardless of what comes from it. And, a great example for our team. Makes me respect him all the more, and we wish him the best.
Denise, do you want to give your report?
After our meeting, I'm going to go to, a summer conference for my association of school business officials to, not get too overwhelmed with all the legislative changes and then things that OPI, requires us to do, but, it's a good conference and it keeps me informed in what I need to do for my job. I too want to thank Micah for hiring me and also for his leadership and his help in the past few months now. I learned a lot, and I'll miss you, and I know you'll do great in Missoula, so good luck.
No report? Yes, first of all, just, to the board, thank you, for the opportunity. When you hired me, 3 years ago, pre-pandemic, and everything we've endured, in those 3 years, but have appreciated the steady guidance and leadership from the board and the, ability to, dig in, and keep moving the district forward in a positive direction, and going after things like a strategic plan and really setting up a framework for the work that's happening in our district and that our community is so supportive of, and our teachers, we know it's in the best interest of them, and continuing with long-range facility planning and some difficult decisions that may come out of that. Having to persevere through budget reductions and other hard things. Just really appreciated that from the board. You've heard me say it before, but it can be a thankless job. You take criticism, you take heat, you have to navigate a fine line of supporting administrative decisions, maybe what the public might think or want, and that's never easy. And so grateful for that. Grateful for our administrative team. Got to have our last administrative retreat yesterday, and share just what an incredible group of leaders, and the trust that exists between them to take on the things that we ask of them. Whether you realize it or not, the decisions you make, the recommendations that I make, and the decisions that you approve, they do have an effect, all the way through our system. And so have just greatly appreciated that, and especially our central office administration. I am not the smartest guy in the room, rely heavily on a group of people with experience and knowledge and differing opinions than my own in some cases on things, and we're able to work through that. And spending my last days continuing to facilitate the transition with Randy. I've met several times with him, have met with Heather multiple times, and Scott, in trying for a successful transition. Kalispell Public Schools, I would hold it up to any district in the state. This is an amazing place. People are doing really good work. Our kids are getting great educations. Humbled and honored to have been a part of that. So thank you for 23 years. Been a good ride.
Thank you, Micah. Now's the time for public comment. Again, this is a time for public comment on matters that are not on the main agenda. Do I have anybody in the public who would like to speak?
Hi, Reynolds Cameron again. I just wanted to update the board on my discussions with members of the Library Board of Trustees, and that they said that they're committed to Kalispell, and they do not have an interest in moving per se, despite all the media reports one way or another. Just they're interested in, or they're motivated to pursue their fiduciary duty with the uncertainty that may have been communicated with the school district. So I just hope maybe going forward, the district could communicate with them and either indicate that you support the library or that you want them out. Thank you. And thank you very much, Micah, for your service to the community.
Thank you, Reynolds. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none. Look at our upcoming meetings that we have. I'm finalizing some things with our board retreat on the 27th. I hope you'll all be able to make it. I've got a couple more things to finalize. I'm going to be speaking with Randy next week. Committee assignments should be coming out this week. Sherry, are we ready for those to come out this week? Maybe not. Maybe by the end of the week. We'll check back. Okay. As of right now, our big meeting will be the 27th, our board retreat, meeting and work session on the 4th Tuesday, sorry. Okay. Mike, I really want to thank you for your service, and I completely forgot that this was your very last. Thank you again for everything that you've done for our district. I would also, I'd like to thank the public for coming tonight, and I really appreciate you guys staying through the entire meeting. I think that was really great. And I encourage you, if any of you have any further questions, comments, you can always reach out to us at any time. Our emails are all available on the district website. Most of you have my number, but feel free to reach out at any point. And again, I really appreciate you staying through the entire meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? I move to adjourn. Go to second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Rebecca? So moved. Meeting adjourned.